The median time to get approval to build a house there is 627 days. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building. You need 87 permits.
Clip 1. The median time to get approval to build a single house in California is 627 days. Let that sink in. That's 217 days longer than it took to build the Empire State Building in the 1930s. Back then, with no computers, no modern machinery, and no digital planning tools, they built a skyscraper faster than California approves a home today. Bill Maher opens his rant with this brutal comparison to expose just how absurd the state's bureaucracy has become. 87 permits. Nearly 2 years of waiting. And for what? A system so tangled in red tape that progress dies before construction even begins.
California is the place that spends money and gets nothing, which is why you may have noticed when the fires broke out, no one escaped by high-speed rail. We have the highest marginal tax rate in America, higher than almost all other states, and soon Greenland.
Maher doesn't hold back as he tears into California's habit of spending massive amounts of money with nothing to show for it. High-speed rail was supposed to be the future. Instead, when wildfires broke out, no one escaped on a bullet train because it doesn't exist. California has the highest marginal tax rate in America, higher than almost every other state, and soon even higher than Greenland. Maher, usually careful with language, goes all out here. His frustration isn't theoretical. It's personal. This is his home state, and in his words, it's being ruined by government incompetence.
There's also many regulations that aren't necessary. I mean, you really don't believe that the state we live in, California, is lacking regulation. There's over 300,000 regulations. I mean,
Well, maybe they're needed.
They're not. When I tried to put in a garage door, I had to have 3 inspections. There should have been none. I should be allowed to change my garage door.
Are you kidding? Really? It was about a garage door?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that is...
No, you know this about California. Come on.
No, I don't.
Then Maher tells a story that perfectly captures California's insanity. He tried to install a garage door. Not a skyscraper. Not a factory. A garage door. And the state required 3 inspections. 3. Maher argues there should have been none. A homeowner should be allowed to change a garage door without government interference. This isn't safety. This is control for the sake of control. California now has over 300,000 regulations, and Maher says many of them exist not to protect people, but to justify the bureaucracy itself.
Well,
I'm sorry, I don't.
You've never heard that California is overtaxed and overregulated? That we are a one-party state where there's sort of no checks on that sort of extreme leftism. And that, what do you think?
I don't for a minute consider California a state that is extreme leftist. Not at all, not any way.
Well, that shows where your politics are. That's not where mine are. I'm sorry to tell you.
Maher expands the argument beyond housing. The same regulatory paralysis affects transportation, infrastructure, entertainment, and energy. Projects that should take months take years. Environmental reviews stack on top of approval processes that never end. Hollywood productions leave. Energy innovation stalls. These rules may have started with good intentions, but Maher says they now protect inefficiency instead of people. California doesn't build. It doesn't fix. And it's losing jobs, investment, and opportunity to states that simply get out of their own way.
Because the other part of the coalition are people who, they don't really like them that much. They just think the far left has gone so nutty on so many issues.
That's what they're being told.
That's what they...
By people like you.
Because it's true.
At the heart of it all, Maher points to California's one-party dominance. In swing states like Arizona, Georgia, or Pennsylvania, politicians feel pressure. Make mistakes and you're gone. In California, that pressure doesn't exist. Seats are safe. Power is guaranteed. So urgency disappears. Leaders can ignore exploding housing costs, failing infrastructure, and endless red tape without consequences. Maher's point is simple. Competition creates accountability. Monopoly creates complacency. and California is drowning in it.
We have spent the last 2 decades in perpetual drought here, yet almond farmers in California have doubled in that time, despite the fact that almond production alone uses more water than all the humans and businesses in San Francisco and Los Angeles combined, even on days when your teenage son spends 2 hours showering. How much water it takes to grow different crops, oranges, tomatoes, strawberries, all take about 11 gallons to make 1 pound. Almonds, 1,900 gallons. That wasn't a problem back when it rained, but now there simply isn't enough water to go around, and we have to make a painful choice, getting it to the people or getting it in the nuts.
Maher clashes with Jane Fonda, who downplays the overregulation problem. Maher fires back, pointing out the obvious disconnect. For wealthy elites, regulation is an abstract concept. Rising housing costs, taxes, permits, and energy bills don't touch their lifestyle. But for working families, red tape shows up as higher rent, higher gas prices, and fewer job opportunities. Maher argues this gap explains why many voters turned to Trump, not because he was perfect, but because he acknowledged their frustration while elites dismissed it.
California agriculture accounts for 80% of our water use, even though California agriculture is less than 2% of our economy. We actually have enough water. We just give way too much of it to farmers who get their water subsidized by the government because we still act like it's 1890 and farmers are small and independent when they're really mostly part of big ag. And corporations get what they want in America.
Maher then takes aim at California's water crisis. The state has faced nearly 2 decades of drought, yet almond farming has doubled. Almonds require 1,900 gallons of water per pound, compared to about 11 gallons for crops like tomatoes or oranges. Even worse, almond farming uses more water than all the humans and businesses in Los Angeles and San Francisco combined. Maher calls it a brutal choice: water for people or water for nuts. And California keeps choosing wrong.
It's the vast network of regulators, administrators, inspectors, contract reviewers, project managers, fee assessors, special commissioners, zoning officers, and consultants whose jobs seem to be to make sure nothing ever happens and then charge you for it. The people who answer the phone, "Permit office, how may I hinder you?"
California agriculture uses 80% of the state's water, yet contributes less than 2% of the economy. Maher says the government still treats farming like it's 1890, small, struggling families, when in reality, it's dominated by massive agribusiness corporations. These corporations get subsidized water while taxpayers foot the bill and cities are told to ration showers. Maher's argument is ruthless: if water is scarce, price it like it's scarce. Anything else is economic and environmental malpractice.
I read that the current mayor of Chicago has an approval rating of 6.6%.
Round it up, Sep.
But, I mean, you were just the ambassador to Japan. If that was your approval rating in Japan, they would do harakiri on live TV.
They would do it at 27.
I mean, what's going on in Chicago? As the person?
Look, I mean, we were talking about this a little earlier. I mean, you have also the mayor of New York not doing well. Obviously, other things also here in Los Angeles not doing well, the mayor here. Look, and then you got mayors, like the mayor in San Francisco and other cities that are doing well. So I would say, look, there is a general rule. I had this when I was mayor. Safe streets, strong schools, stable finances. Focus on those 3 things and your city's gonna be fine.
Maher describes California's bureaucracy as a vast army of regulators, inspectors, reviewers, consultants, and permit officers whose job seems to be making sure nothing ever happens, and charging you for it. Permit office, how may I hinder you? He jokes. And the result is predictable. Businesses leave. Energy companies relocate. Families pack up and move. People aren't fleeing progress, they're fleeing punishment. When productivity is penalized, people vote with their feet.
We've gone through 5 years where people became way too permissive of a culture. They were which is why everything's locked up at Walgreens and CVS, and that is a disaster.
Yeah.
And I'll say this about our schools. I don't want to hear another word about the locker room. I don't want to hear another word about the bathroom. You better start focusing on the classroom. We had the worst reading scores for 8th graders in 30 years. And nobody, not a governor, not a mayor, not a president, not a secretary of education is talking about it. We're all wrapped up. Look, in 7th grade, if I known that I could have said the word they and got in the girls' bathroom, I would have done it.
Leadership lost the plot. Rahm Emanuel jumps in with a final warning. Cities are failing because leaders abandon fundamentals. safe streets, strong schools, stable finances. Instead, they chase ideological trends while crime rises and education collapses. Emmanuel points out 8th grade reading scores are at a 30-year low, yet leaders barely talk about it. Schools focus on culture wars instead of classrooms. Maher closes with a stark message. Without accountability and common sense governance, California risks turning its golden promise into permanent decline.